what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unleashed Performance Therapy Podcast. I'm Robert, of course, and here with Jamie.
Hey,
Let me
yo.
start by saying congrats, Jamie, on the new addition to the family, little Sawyer.
Thank you,
Kid number
sir.
two. You're ahead of me
Yeah,
by a
it's been
lot.
nice. It's been nice. It's not as hard as I was expecting. But we're only a week in, so I've got a lot of room for things to happen.
Well, this is number two. You're a vet. You're a vet already, right?
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think so.
All right. So this episode, we got a very special guest that I was fortunate enough to get in contact with from one of our previous guests, Alora, on the show. This is Mr. Sam Schaefer. How you doing today, Sam?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Sam has a great story. He is a amputee, and let's actually just go ahead and get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Sam.
My name's Sam Schaefer. I'm 34 years old, and my path here was not according to plan. Obviously you already know I'm an amputee, so I'm going to kind of start the real genesis of that one. I was a few semesters into college and just realized that it wasn't taking me anywhere that I wanted to go. I was 3 semesters in, and I left for the military. I joined the Air Force and under a special operations career field called combat control. And fortunately and unfortunately, I found myself for the very first time in my life, like I was in the right place. And then unfortunately, September 6, 2011, I was in Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, tripped and fell on a run. When I clipped that curb, I had a couple I had a fracture. I had a really nasty sprain. Like my heel, I remember my heel touching my ankle, like on the inside, the way I rolled it. In my infinite wisdom and adrenaline and what I was there for, I finished the run. That trauma caused a condition called complex regional pain syndrome. It's a very uncommon, very misunderstood ailment. And if you just take a step back and take a look at that name, complex regional pain syndrome, you realize it doesn't tell you a whole lot. Doesn't tell you a whole lot about what's going on. And the lack of frequency in which this occurs makes it hard for a lot of treatment progress to be made. So unfortunately, there are treatments, but I was treatment resistant. To really fast forward the story, over the course of 9 years, I was in a constant state of deterioration. I didn't have a single second out of pain in those 9 years. Like I never saw 0 on the pain chart. And if I only got to 5 or 6 by the back end, if I was only getting to 5 or 6 during the day, I'm having a great day. Like we're going to talk about this one later because of how rough things had gotten. For better or for worse, that forced me to really pare down what I was doing with my life in terms of there were so many little things I had to do, and I had to keep exploring, and I had to keep learning how to learn because I kept losing function. It got to a point where my toes didn't move very well. And then I didn't know what was going to happen with my foot and my ankle. I kept having this deterioration happen. And, through a really chance meeting, I met someone who had an amputation, same limb, same ankle, very similar timeline, and that their pain was resolved through an amputation. Very soon after, some conversations with my wife and some real deep diving inside, I elected for an amputation. That occurred August 26th of 2020. I woke up out of pain for the very first moment of basically my adult life. The day that my amputation happened, 1/3 of my life had been completely lost to pain. And I woke up out of pain, had no clue what to do. My brain went crazy, emotions went crazy. Probably the greatest thing I ever told my wife was it worked. It was crazy. It was an absolutely unfathomable, very challenging to just even soak in the moment because it was just so overwhelming. Plus my brain had all this space for the very first time again as an adult. And I think a lot of people that they get this, they start training for a while and they really get into it. And they start getting a lot of man, I wish I would have known this when I started. Or if I knew better, I would have done this at the beginning. I got to do that I got to be a brand new athlete, didn't even know how to walk. And I had 10 years of understanding, knowledge, and research under my belt on how to move and develop, and how to develop movement, and how a human learns. And I understood how things were going to be really hard at first, but I knew that they were going to get better if I was intentional and I didn't skip steps. And I have taken everything that I learned, everything that I could imagine, and have applied this to the last 3.5 years of my life. In that path, a couple
Man.
quick, highlights. I was on the first ever all adaptive team to qualify for and compete in a major CrossFit competition in the able-bodied division. I have set 5 world records in the Scottish Highland Games. I hadn't run in 12 years, and I ran a marathon on 36 hours notice a few weeks ago.
Wow.
I don't have a lot of complaints anymore. I just want to help people really at this point. It's become the mission to share everything. I have no secrets. I don't even want those world records. I want someone to come beat them because I want to see someone who's actually good at that do it. It's so that's really the big mission is how do I smooth the next person's path, and I'm very, very committed to that.
That's a phenomenal story.
Man, seriously, yeah.
Man, you know how hard it's been to learn how to tell it that quickly. There's so many
Well,
things.
I was gonna say we're less than 10 minutes into the podcast, and this is like, oh my god,
that's
all
the show right there. That in itself is an amazing story, man.
Insane,
like not even
right?
not getting into real accomplishments, anything like that. Just that story itself, man. 9 years going through that, treatment resistant. I'm sure so many things were going through your head because of course when we go to a physician or anybody in the medical field, we're expecting them to help us and be able to solve things or at least give us answers. So I can only imagine what was going through your head.
No one had an answer, and the more research I did, the more confusing it was. The literature was, especially in 2011, 2012, was not very good on this condition. It was still being referred to by some as RSD, reflexive sympathetic disorder, and it's not a sympathetic nervous issue. So trying to treat it as such is a bad bet. I had multiple injections into my spine trying to kill nerves. I had some put directly into my leg. And then on top of this, when they did the amputation, my surgeon found that where my bone had been fractured, it actually didn't heal right. It healed with a little bit of a spur, and it was sat right on, and the nerve was right there. And so every movement for those 9 years, the nerve, that big corded nerve, he showed me the picture, how just grizzled it was from being run over that for every movement in 9 years. Because I didn't stop moving. I didn't do a whole lot in the first 15 months because I wasn't allowed to for military restriction on active duty with the profile. But when I got out and I was discharged, I was like, you know what? It hurts pretty effing bad to do nothing. I'm at least going to do something I like. And I got back into my CrossFit gym. And the truth of that is that was a big time. It fueled my denial. There was a lot of denial. I was 21 when I got hurt. I was in a special operations field. I felt like I was in the right place. I was ready to go be that guy. And one fall and it's gone. Yeah. And there's no answer. It's not like my leg snapped off. That's reasonable. I can sit there and I can look at that. Right. Or something crazy, but it was so invisible. And then I used that to just fuel denial for years. Eventually it got too bad for that. There was no denying it. And then I had to start using a cane. Then a cane wasn't enough and I had to use a forearm crutch. I got stripped down where most people are in their 20s and ego is all the way up here. Every time I learn something, I get knocked down a notch somehow. And I really just stayed very committed to the idea, I don't know that I'll ever get out of this, but I know that I have to be ready to take the opportunity if it ever presents itself. And for the first 8.5 years of those 9 years, I didn't know if there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't know if that even was going to exist. I was fought whenever I requested whenever I requested an amputation. I was told no, and that was its own battle that I had to deal with. We're not, I don't, it's not really worth the time. That those people don't get to be a part of the story. Um, but like as all these things are happening, it's just like work. I had to. The condition is called the suicide disease. Like I had medical professionals call it the suicide disease in a medical setting with me.
Really?
And
Damn.
like that's the common cause of death. People
Man.
don't get to that. That's what the finish line looks like. And I was there. I understood it. I couldn't fathom doing that to my wife anymore. Making that her life. She's too special for that. That she can't just be a babysitter for me because I can't, because my leg is so fried. I'm in so much pain before I even get to noon that I need her to go fill my water.
Damn.
And I'm not even 30.
Man, that speaks volumes about you as a person, about your character and your resiliency and not. I know there were probably times that you said it. You kept getting knocked down, and it might have been some episodes of depression.
Massive.
But you came out on top, and that speaks volumes about who you are as a person and your character. And man, I just give mad props to you because I don't
I
know.
appreciate it.
It takes a
It's
special
why I don't
person.
believe in. Yeah, I don't believe in luck isn't that real to
Mhm.
me. Luck is being prepared to take an opportunity, and that's what I was. Like
100%.
Definitely.
like luck isn't you being given something. Luck is being prepared when that opportunity comes knocking, and then having the courage to say yes. And I had to say yes because this was my best chance to be my best person. And we went into the surgery knowing it might not work. The type of condition with the nervy type of things that were
Mhm.
happening, I could have woken up with all the same pain and no foot. So that would have meant I'm in a wheelchair. But I was headed for a wheelchair anyway, assuming I didn't end it myself.
Wow.
Like that's where the story was going. So that wasn't scary. It was a lot scarier to me to be in a wheelchair knowing that there was one more thing I could have tried. That was terrifying. The second
Can we
best version
run?
of me is scary.
Can we run through all of your achievements again? You cut out a little bit on my end, and I didn't catch the very first part. I caught you after your
Um,
CrossFit.
And we're definitely
yeah.
gonna
So
touch on several of them. So yeah.
yeah, we got a few. Yeah. So so like I said, yeah, I was on the first. Me and two other amputees, we ended up qualifying for the able-bodied division at Wadapalooza, which is a big CrossFit competition down in Miami in January.
Okay.
Uh, Even if you're not a CrossFitter, that event's worth going to if you ever get the opportunity. It's part fitness, part party, and like it's a real intimate because it's not like inside of the CrossFit season, so all the athletes are a lot more relaxed.
It's my two favorite
Um,
things.
there we go, and Miami's not so bad to visit. Yeah, man. I got into throwing Highland games. I've got a couple indoor world records, and then I've got 5 outdoor world records of the 8. There's 8 world records. I went out to try to throw all 8 in one game, and I threw 5. Um, so, but oh well. Let's see. Yeah, man, it's kind of hard. I don't get too hung up on this stuff. I don't have like a list of like things that I've done because I know that the next thing's coming, and I'm more interested in the next thing that I'm gonna learn. I
It is.
recently
It's that Tom Brady
I
attitude right there.
a little bit. The best one's the next one.
Yep.
Um, and I won a kickboxing match. I had my first kickboxing match
Oh
in
wow.
February this year. I won. He didn't get off the stool for the 3rd round, so technically it was a 2nd round TKO stoppage. Like I said, I was training for a 30K trail run in Bryce Canyon. That's not going to happen. That was actually supposed to be next week. But due to some logistics and some travel I had to do, I, on 36 hours notice, ended up running the St. Louis Marathon very slowly.
Mm.
I learned that Sam's a pack mule. He ain't a jackrabbit. I'm a pack mule. I'm almost 200 pounds anyway, so I'm not supposed to be running
Yeah.
marathons in the first place. So that's just like the start of the year. I'm going to Ecuador in September, climbing a mountain then, and I'm hoping to hoping to get another fight by the end of the year.
Nice, nice. Um,
Yeah,
going back, I know.
it's like having fun.
There you go. Before we started, of course, we were talking about rehab and stuff like that, and of course, it was that major decision, definitely a life changing decision that you had to make to get you out of the state that you were already in. A big thing in physical therapy and rehab is kind of the reassurance that the therapist needs to give the patient to kind of keep that motivation. Um, after you woke up and you basically told your wife there was no more pain, what was it that kind of drove you to the person that you are now?
The same thing that got me there. That
Yeah,
determination, like I have to be from like a fear, like what is, everybody has their own beliefs on heaven, hell, purgatory. To me, like the greatest like hell or purgatory punishment that could ever happen is that you die and you meet the very best version of you that you could have been, and it's not who you were. I'm terrified of being the second best version that I could be for me, for my wife, for my friends, for all these people that I care about. I'm terrified of being the second best version of me. Um, and that's what got me there. I didn't sit there and say I wanted an amputation. I wanted to be my best. I didn't sit there and get into the ice tub stuff because I wanted to go sit in ice water. I wanted to be my best. It was one of the best solutions I had to try to like turn down the nerve pain because it was enough of a nervous system impact getting in the cold tub. Like I wasn't saying yes cold tub, yes amputation. I just kept saying yes to this very same question of does this make you your best? And that was the answer. And that job didn't stop because I got out of pain. And so to be honest, like that's what keeps me driving and that's what keeps me going forward. Like I've got this amazing gift that very few people in my situation get. And on top of that, I have the awareness that even fewer have. I'm going like that's important to me. That's why I want to be me. And I want to be proud to be me. And there's also a little bit, you know what? This is the 10-year-old version of
nice.
Sam didn't know that he was going to be missing a leg, but he definitely thought he was this guy. He definitely thought he was this guy that could go run a marathon. They could go fight another human. They can go deadlift 500 pounds. He like 10-year-old Sam saw that when no one else did. And I'm gonna honor him too.
Nice, nice. And with what you're saying there, that determination you had before and after is perfect segue into the hat. I see the hat. I did a deep dive, of course, the in the
Ah,
last three
yeah.
weeks that I talked to you. So let the people know, and for the listeners that aren't on the YouTube, so CWCW's on the hat. That's was it
It's on the
Chopwood Carry
hat.
Water?
Yes, sir. It's on the hat. It's on the knuckles. It's so what I just described is chop wood carry water. So there's kind of two routes here. The first one is like so it's very it's like a monk philosophy or a monk adage, and as what I'm sure you're at least even if you're not in, like you don't study monks. I had to pull from everywhere. Um, Monks like their path to enlightenment, right? That like ring a bell. Basic concept.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, what does a monk do before enlightenment? They chop wood and they carry water. And what does a monk do after enlightenment? They chop wood and they carry water. So what did I do before my amputation? I did everything I could to be my best. So what did I do after? I kept doing that. Now I just don't have that resistance. I had these skills that were forged against massive resistance, hopelessness, the whole nine, and now there's hope. That's just gasoline. That's just a constant stream of gasoline. And obviously we don't have to chop wood and carry water to stay warm and stay hydrated these days. But I think of it as a euphemism for all the little things that make someone their best every day. It's waking up and doing my breath work because I know that that makes me better. It's making sure that it's my exercise, it's my diet, it's my stress management, it's my sleep routines, it's all these little things that allow me to have all these experiences. That's what chop wood carry water is a euphemism for in 2024 to me. So
I love that. I
that
love that.
yeah,
I
and so
think
like
that
that's
in
like
a lot of these different situations, people who have had a major life situation happen with them, there's always a before and there's always an after, and there's always some transition period where they were this person and now they're this person because of what happened. But in your case, your story is I was me and I'm still me. Nothing has changed. I've had this determination from the beginning and nothing has changed, and I'm here. I am. I'm still here
Just the setting. The
doing the
setting's
same
the only
damn
thing that
thing.
changed. I love that actually, man. I love that. I don't think I've ever explained it that well. I fuck with that one hard.
Hell yeah.
Um, yeah, man. Like it's yeah. Appreciate that.
Nice, nice. Um, of course, we touched on definitely some of your accolades and stuff like that. Um, CrossFit, skateboarding, ice skating, boxing, kickboxing. That's already at least 4 or 5 stuff that I haven't done that you're doing with one leg, right? So, real quick, the Highland Games. What are those? Explain that to
Okay.
us.
Okay. So the Highland Games are one of the hardest things that no one gives a shit about. And it's hilarious that we put so much effort into it because it's such a hard sport. So the Highland Games is actually the root of track and field. Uh, very long time ago in Scotland, they had their heavy athletics and they had their light athletics. The light athletics were like your races. And again, this was like your think 100-meter dash, 400, 800, your relays, your hurdles. They had the precursor events to that. And then there's the heavy athletics, which are the precursors to our field events, our throws, shot put, hammer throw, discus, plus a couple extra because why wouldn't we just throw a rock in a field? Um, so a Scottish Highland game here in America has 9 events. There are 3 events that have a heavy and a light version of it. So there's like the shot put type event. We call them the stone. So there's the Braemar stone and the open stone. Braemar just means there's no approach, and it's a heavier stone. It's about 21 to 26 pounds for that rock, and it's just a standing power throw. The open stone is about a 16-pound stone, and you can approach. You see people spin, glide, your traditional shot put techniques. The weight for distance is like a harder and heavier version of a discus, because instead of that disc being like inside your hand, it's a weight on a chain. So it's a much bigger thing to control. The light event is 28 pounds, and for the heavyweights is 56, and for the lightweights or in the adaptive, it's 42 pounds. Um, and then there's the light and heavy hammer, which are 16 and 22. For adaptive, it's 12 and 16. That's actually like, it sounds like a big drop, but actually those are the ones that feel the most the same to me from before I lost my leg. And so there's 6 a year events, and then you've got 2 height events, which are basically you're throwing something up and over a bar. One of them is a 42-pound weight, and the other one, which really isn't going to make any sense with the verbal description, is a bale of twine. It's about 16 pounds, and I use a pitchfork and use a technique that's kind of like a rotational barbell snatch, and I huck that SOB up and over a bar. Um, and then the one that people are familiar with, but they don't know they are, it's called the caber. That's the one where it's always like some big dude with some grizzly beard. He's wearing a kilt and he's carrying a tree and he's trying to throw the tree. So that's called the caber. That's called the caber toss. And that's one of the 9 events. My world records are in both the hammer. I've got both the light and heavy hammer. I've got the sheaf and the wob, so the 2 heights. And then I've got the lightweight for distance world records.
Nice, nice. So holding down the heavy in the Highland, and then straight to the light for that marathon, which is crazy. You said you got 36-hour notice to run a marathon.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a logistic thing, and I don't advise it. I didn't do it because it was badass. Like literally, it was pure logistics. So I was driving. I had a 6-hour drive to Tennessee. I live in St. Louis. I had a 6-hour drive to Tennessee on Sunday morning. This was my last 2 hard days of training before I tapered for the 30K. I had an 8-mile run that was supposed to be on Saturday and a 17 on Sunday. Well, I'm not running 17 miles and then getting in the car for 6 hours. Bad deal. So then I was like, okay, I can try to get this done on Friday, Saturday, but there was the St. Louis Marathon, meaning there wasn't going to be anywhere. I was going to have to try to figure out how to run all that miles and not interfere with the course that literally went very close to my house. And on top of that, my wife was running the 10K. It just like I believe when the universe puts something in front of you, you just do it. And the universe was basically handing that one to me. Said, "Hey, you said you wanted an experience, right? Here's an experience." No taper, no carb load. Um, and yeah, so yeah, that was 2.5 weeks ago, I think. And yeah, so ran my first marathon when my longest run before that was 14 miles. That was fun.
Man,
Nice,
that's
nice.
incredible.
Me being a soccer player, of course, I'm always running, and I know Jamie has recently gotten into the running and possibly marathon training. I saw a video you had on
Oh,
YouTube about how you learn to enjoy running. I know we had a
yeah.
podcast with a marathon runner, and people always tell me that they hate running because it's boring, stuff like that. Not even with the music helps them. So what helped you start to love to run?
All right. So I just had like this is why it's so important to know yourself. Um, I instead of thinking like, oh, I like lifting weights, I like this, I like that. I figured out what I liked about it. I like skill work. I like skills. I like learning new skills, and I think that progress is one of the greatest drugs you can take.
Oh
So
yeah.
progress was easy. I hadn't run in 12 years. That was real easy to find progress on that one. So instead of just thinking, oh, I'm gonna run miles, I thought I want to run well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knocking anyone, but this story is not for me. I didn't want to be the amputee that ran like shit. The guy that was limping around these races and everyone's telling him how great he is and cheering him on at the finish line. Why? Because he's limping and he's running like shit. I was like, no. I was like, these things are made really well. These things are made well, but they're made to operate under optimum mechanics. So I was like, okay, I like learning. I love human movement. I love development, and I love figuring out how to create novel drills for people. That was something I think that I do exceptionally well with my coaching is creating novel drills for the individual to figure out the piece of the puzzle they're not whatever compound or complex thing that they're trying to figure out. So that's the approach that I took. This is a skill. I am practicing the skill of running. I'm not going out and getting tired. I'm not going out and just trying to beat myself up. So I dove into into gait mechanics even harder. And then I also started to find it carry over into my kickboxing, because running, I'm a 4 foot, but on a running blade, you have to be a 4 foot runner. Well, boxing, kickboxing, martial arts are done on your 4 foot. And that's really hard to do on a prosthetic because you don't have that ankle manipulation. I can't, I
Mm-hmm.
can't, um, I can't plantar flex. Um, Everybody's worried about the dorsiflexion. It's actually the plantar flexion that I have found much harder to compensate for. Um, so you can't. It helped teach me how to get light on the ball of my foot on because my prosthetics my lead leg. It's made me a pretty solid kickboxer, all things considered. And so like I was feeling that carryover. So again, I just kind of leaned into the progress and leaned into like the skill acquisition, and then everything was filtered through my breathing. Can I nasal breathe the whole time? And because I also know that that's actually the big key to learning physical skills. What locks a lot of people up and what ruins their movement is they're holding their breath. They're tensing up. They're not moving air. And now that's getting in the way of like their trunk and their hip function. And there's not a movement that a human being can do that's not going to be a massive limiter if your hips aren't and trunk aren't operating optimally. So I just made sure I was doing that well, and the rest of the cycle tended to take care of itself. So I disconnected from distance. I disconnected from tempos and paces. And I just said, hey, I'm going to go find how to make this comfortable, because that's why people don't stick with it. And if I can figure that out, I can help other people do it.
Talked about it before. Well, you mentioned it as well. Your 0 to 30K at Bryce Canyon that unfortunately is no longer on because of the prosthetic issue. Um, so what are you up to next? What's the next rung of the ladder for Sam?
Oh, we're getting big. No, no, it's actually, yeah. I'm going to try to put on about 10 pounds of muscle in the next few months, while maintaining all the endurance and the engine and the running capacity. So the next like event type thing that's on the schedule, something could pop up. Actually, I had somebody try to plug a Highland game in there on me, but I haven't thrown in literally a year. But the next thing is I'm going to be going to Ecuador. and I'm actually going to be climbing a mountain with an organization called ROMP, Range of Motion Project. And what they do, it's a nonprofit that helps provide prosthetics to people with like no access, like not like low access, no access, like people that like they're making limbs for people that just flat out are amputees and don't even have one. Not even they have a bad one. And so
Mm-hmm.
like one of the places they've set up a clinic is in Ecuador. So I'm going to be down there for 10 days. I'm going to be I'm incredibly fortunate to be chosen to be on this team. It's their 10th anniversary climb. And so obviously, so there's a big fundraising initiative with this, as a part of this climb. But I get to have this experience from mountain climber Sam was not on the bingo card a couple of years ago. Um, so again, when the universe throws you a bone, you say you want to have an experience, you say you want change. I'm going to go. That's what's next. So it's
Have you,
preparing for that, and then just like you said, putting on getting a little deeper into the strength training. I've got a long history of it, but I've really never trained heavy for an extended period of time as an amputee. I've been so busy learning other stuff. Now it really fits in neatly for me to let's go ahead and get over 200 pounds.
how's the training for the climbing going?
Oh, great! Like the engine's good. I mean, I learned that I can run for 5 hours. I'm real good at keeping my feet moving.
Yeah.
I got some really good evidence that I'm really good at keeping my feet moving. Um, so for that stuff, it's going to be a lot of, I got to go find a little more elevation than we have here in Missouri. Not the highest elevation place in the country by a long shot, but just going and finding that sort of stuff and just staying
Mm-hmm.
busy and keeping the capacity high. Like I said, and the strength stuff is all aimed at still being able to. Again, I'm a pack mule. I can carry, like I can ruck. I can ruck. I'm pretty comfortable with the 40-pound ruck, however long I want to go. So it's just keeping that skill strong, keeping the heart rate, keeping the heart rate going, and just enjoying training, and just being healthy. That's really the biggest thing. Is like don't go get hurt training.
Yeah.
I think for sure everything you've told us, everything you've been through, um, it's just not for amputees. And I know for sure one of the first videos I watched on your YouTube, you said that pretty much that you weren't making videos showing people how to be an amputee. It wasn't videos for that. It was like I think you said it was like almost like cool versus the value. When it's cool you're just doing things, but when it's value you're actually doing things to help others. And it's so obvious in all the stuff that you do and that you're saying. I know I took one little, I think it was your squatting video, the concept cue strategy,
Yeah.
and that's something that I've applied in the last week or so. I know you said
Oh fuck yeah! There we go.
hey, I'm telling you, man, I'm looking
This
at
shit
this
works,
stuff. I
doesn't it?
don't. Yeah, for sure. I don't see an amputee. I see somebody telling me, "Hey, you can do this." Now you visualize it, you put it in motion and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm
You want to
grateful
know the
for it.
worst part about figuring all this shit out? Is it all
What's
works
that?
better for you than it does for me? you got. I'm not even joking. You have better equipment than I do. So if you were to apply the exact same concepts, you will get a higher rate of return. But like you don't have that necessity. My margin for error shrank on everything when I became an amputee. Like a good deadlift, still a good deadlift. A proper hinge is a proper hinge. My hips didn't change, but my margin for error on how to elicit that effect shrank dramatically. So if you train with the same level of accuracy, you'll actually get, like I said, you've got a better set of equipment. That's like the funny part. It's like, man, this is some really hard fought knowledge, and it actually helps able-bodied people better. But it's the amputees that are hungry for it, or like the ones that are driven that are really hungry for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me go get this marathon under my belt.
Have you ever thought about have you ever or how is running, so you said you're using a running blade,
Yep.
right? Uh,
Yes,
does
sir.
that have to be on a level surface? Are you able to
Um.
do like a trail run at all?
Yeah. So the 30K I was training for was a trail run.
Oh, okay.
It's so like yeah. The CYA answer is I get told don't do that. That's not safe for you. I was like, but you know what? You know what's more dangerous is not being able to handle uneven terrain. That's
Absolutely.
way more dangerous than me going out and
Uh-huh.
figuring it out and taking a couple falls.
Yeah.
It's more dangerous to not be able to fall than it is to go and fall. That's kind of my perspective of it. I know that's not the physical therapy office answer, but it's the truth. It's the real world truth, because the world doesn't change because I'm an amputee. Parking lots still have potholes. The grocery store is the
Yeah.
same size for me as it is for you. I can't lower my standard, otherwise I lose a lot of life. And again, I already lost 10 years. I'm not giving away another one. So that's my philosophy on that. And I'm not doing these things to prove a point. I'm not doing these things for social media. I'm doing these
Yeah.
things to change. I'm doing these things because there's also an element. I was talking to somebody. They were laughing. So I did a video of me doing a backflip the other day, and
It's
he's
crazy.
like, yeah, I love like your full send up like nature that you have. And I'm like, yeah, cut your leg off, and it takes a little bit more to get the volume up these days. Uh, your local 5K just
Uh,
doesn't really get the heart beating the same way as it used to. And I'm a firm believer that life is change, and you should seek change. Like I want to be a better version of me. I know that I haven't found that, and I probably never
uh-huh.
will. It's a matter as as long as I can keep a healthy like mindset around it, and I'm not just throwing shit at the wall, and just trying to be ridiculous. Like I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to run through, jump through a flaming ring. I'm doing things with intention. Like I knew what I wanted to get out of my run, this 30K that I was training for. And, I could be really sad that that didn't happen, or I could be really grateful that I learned a lot of the things that I wanted to learn already. I still got to go do a long, very challenging run. And, that's just way more valuable. Like I can choose to be upset about the small detail that didn't happen, or I can be really grateful and acknowledge the fact that because I knew that going in, I knew what I wanted. I now have developed a skill set and have an experience to back it up that I can now help other people with, able-bodied and amputees alike. I added tools to my toolbox, and that's all we're here. That's all I'm trying to do. I I'm 10 times the coach that I am an athlete. I know
Hmm.
I've gotten to do some cool stuff. I know that I'm operating outside the bell curve at this point, but I am not genetically gifted. I am not an athletic freak. Genetically gifted athletic freaks aren't 4'11", 95 pounds their first day of high school. Like they're just not. And it doesn't show up at 30, and it sure as hell doesn't show. You don't become gifted after an amputation at 30. You know, I'm an exceedingly good learner, and I've got perspective on my side. I've lived a lot of versions of life already for being 34 years old, and I use that as my power.
Have you done any
So
obstacle
like,
course racing?
uh, no, and man, do those people want me to so bad. And why? Because it's a great picture for them. My wife went and did one. My wife went and did one. I'm sure I'll do one
Uh-huh.
eventually. I'm just giving this shit, but like, I'll tell you fucking what, man. My wife went and did one. I had, the only thing I've got on that looks moderately athletic gear is I'm wearing a pair of like pants with like, I don't like, especially at that point, I had the leg cut off for my prosthetic so I could adjust it if I needed, but I had a jacket on every single time. There are more pictures of me not on the course than there probably are of her. Because every time I moved, we heard click, 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 click. And those photographers were desperate of trying to catching me doing an amputee, man.
That's wild.
I just don't want to be
That's
that.
wild.
I even joked, I was like, I don't want to be the cliche of the amputee running a marathon, and here I am. Yeah, it plays great on social media, but like I don't want to do it for so I know at some point like if I do it, it's going to be because it's like some really cool opportunity, or it's like it's somebody like fuck yeah, I'll go do this with you, man. That's your thing.
Yeah.
I'll go live in your world for a minute. I'm not personally chasing it down myself. I did them.
Uh-huh.
I played GI Joe. I played GI Joe for a little bit. I did those things for real. They fucking suck. I don't know why you pay so much money for it. You can go get paid less than minimum wage and get treated like shit with bad food. Like
Well, that's what me and my
Like,
wife do. We do obstacle course races.
okay,
We don't do
nice.
the long marathon runs because I can't even think about running that long, man. So I run for a little bit and I climb some stuff and then I jump down and I run some more.
Oh man, you're a budding CrossFitter. I joke 'cause I've been in the CrossFit space since February 2010. I got in really early, and man, CrossFitters hate doing single modality anything for an extended period of time. Like, I like program like, no, we need to do some like low intensity cardio. Like, we need to round out the machine. We explain all this stuff. Like, so you think I should get off like every like 3 minutes and do some burpees? Like, no, I think you should sit your ass on the fucking rower for 30 minutes or a bike. You get to pick, but you should sit your ass there for 30 minutes and just move steady. So like every 5 minutes do burpees. How about every 5 minutes you reset the clock?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I got one for you. So
shoot.
Sam, since August 26, 2020, describe him in 3 words.
Not done yet.
Ooh,
Boom.
quick.
Nice.
Thug
Nice.
I had no idea where I was going with it. I was
Dope.
like, whatever I feel, I'm going with. I'm not done yet.
Thought I was throwing
That's
you a
why.
curveball.
Yeah, that's why I don't get that excited about like the stuff I've done because like if I die and they put fucking how far I threw a rock in a field on that tombstone, I have fucked up. I did not do what I set out to do. If they talk about that time I fought another guy, I didn't do what I was there to do. Like that's not what I want. Like I definitely believe that there's more in front of me than there is behind me, and it's that simple. So just like keep going because I know it's all building for something. I've had some like wild shit happen. I've had some people. I've got friends that I used. There are people that are close friends of mine now that are people that I used to really look up to, and they talk to me on equal. I'm just like, what the hell? What the fuck is this life? And there's more of it left. I know it.
Oh man, it's been a pleasure speaking to you,
Oh,
man.
definitely.
If you'd ever be interested in doing an obstacle course race, man, I mean we do them all every year.
Right.
I try to do 3 of them every year. I do one down in Austin,
That's a hard
Dallas,
sell.
Houston.
Ooh, I love Dallas. Adaptive Training ATF are my homie. Those are my homies at ATF. Those guys are the shit.
Yeah, I've
I
got
definitely
one
look for an
coming up
excuse to go to
on
Dallas.
Sunday morning. Actually, I've got one coming up.
I will not make that.
I'm pretty excited for it. Haven't been training as best as I would have liked to with the new baby and everything, but
I was gonna say, I think you had a good reason.
I think I'll do just fine.
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely got to have you back on here with Laura with the adaptive sports because she's deep dives into it heavy, and I can only.
You know what? She's had some of the I've had plenty of people reach out. She's definitely like my favorite person I've talked to in terms of like attitude around it because like some people are coming in for me to tell them what they're doing is right. She wanted me to come in and tell her what she could do differently, and that's special. That's that change thing that I was talking about. Like I'm attracted to people and places that value change. Like you changed shouldn't be an insult.
Exactly.
Well, one thing that I really like about this podcast, man, is that we've been meeting a lot of different people, a lot of interesting people, and I gained something from every single episode, and I have almost an hour full of great knowledge just from you, man, and I really do appreciate you coming on.
It's definitely
Very inspirational.
One of my most favorite, most inspirational episodes for sure, and we appreciate it for sure.
Man,
and
appreciate it.
And I know definitely you're not the one for all the paparazzis and everything, but where can people find you on the social medias and whatnot?
So all right. So Instagram is definitely where I'm most active. So Sam Schaefer 1, I'm sure that'll be linked in the description. But if you're not going to go that far, and there's 97 ways to spell Schaefer, and they all make sense. SAMSCHAEFER #1. That's on Instagram at Sam Schaefer, spelled the same way, oddly enough, on YouTube. And then if I can just kind of plug 2 organizations that I'm working with right now, that would be awesome. Actually, balloons, huh? Actually,
Hey,
I'm gonna go ahead and
hey.
I'm gonna take a typo. That was three. So number one, less leg, more heart. These are the people that really took a chance on me. They gifted me the running blade, and I don't know if anyone's had more faith in me and what I can be than Tina Hurley. Incredible organization. I help run a program with them called Hearts, and what we do is we provide amputees with zero out of pocket personal training from me. So if you feel so compelled and you'd be willing to donate money to that program or just give it a follow and support what we're doing, it's really the most button dialed in little like organization that I see coming, that I see around. I've been approached by a lot, and I've not been more impressed than I have been by Less Like More Heart. So if you'd be interested in contributing to that, huge big deal. The second one we already talked about, Range of Motion Project Romp, with my climb in Ecuador in September. I have a fundraising prerequisite where I have to raise $10,000 for the organization, and both of those links are in my Instagram bio. If you feel so compelled, I know 10,000 sounds like this huge number. It's not little, but even $10, $20 adds up and makes a big difference. So if you'd be willing to check that out and contribute to either of those causes, I promise you that is well spent money. If you are a bigger organization catching this, all of it's tax deductible. Contact me ahead of time, and I will make sure all that stuff is squared away. And the last thing, the reason why I am getting little sleep right now, I am kind of relaunching a coaching company, CWCW Performance. And what I'm doing is I'm looking to share the small intangibles, all the tools that have helped me do what I'm doing. I'm trying to share them with the people that are invested in their own performance in life, in a sport, so that there's programming available. Like if you're just looking for somebody to write your programming, I'm there for you. But the really things I'm keying on with this one is the little things. It's how to integrate. Like everybody knows that breathing is important now. It's become a buzzword, but very few people understand how to integrate this into their practice. I'm here for you on that one. You want to like nutritional tweaks, diet strategy, like the things that actually, so the things that do the things you're already doing well. I want to teach you how to set those things on fire and find your version of what I found. I've just had too many. That's the stuff that I'm doing that's just making a huge difference in life. This past weekend, I worked with a gal who is on the cusp of the CrossFit Games, and I'm teaching her how to integrate breath work before, during, and after her workouts into her training. And this could be a thing that puts her over the edge. I coached 3 fighters this weekend doing breath work pre and post, breath work, and then I get a message from this little girl that I babysat, or my wife used to babysit, and she used to want to get in the cold tub, and she finally did one time. I finally let her get in one time, and so I'm teaching. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna do the breathing stuff," and 5, 6-year-old, and I get a message from her mom this weekend that she gets in this lake in New York, and she's like, "Look, I'm relaxing my breathing like Sam taught me." This is now a 6-year-old that has this stress management tool, and like I said, I
That's
listened to the
cool.
universe, and that was the universe telling me, "It's like, hey, CWCW performance needs to happen." So be on the lookout. If you do give me a follow, know that more information is coming there. Or if you just want any of the apparel, I got a couple of hats, I got a couple of shirts that I am oddly proud of, that I'm
Hell
real
yeah, man.
into. I appreciate it. It supports me, and man, it's just been really cool to help people. And I'm trying to be a little more formal with how I can help people, so more people can find out. Thank you.
No, man, thank you for sure.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And that's gonna do it for this episode of Unleash Performance Therapy Podcast. If you have a certain topic or anybody you want to hear on the show, go ahead and shoot us a DM on our Instagram, unleash.tx. Like Jamie always says, if you like the episode, be sweet to us. Go ahead and scroll down to the bottom, leave a 5-star review, like, follow, and subscribe. And until next time.
Thanks, Sam.